What is going on, everybody? And in this video, we are giving you a state of the market in stock picks for May 18th, 2022. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, consider subscribing, as I do provide daily and weekly updates to get you prepared for the day and week ahead in this junky market. Nonetheless, this market has been quite interesting. We've essentially kind of been waiting for today. Powell had an interview today with the Wall Street Journal, which there were some questions that were good. None of them quite hit. A lot of them were kind of beating around the bush as far as Powell's concerned. But that is what he does. He can't provide any solid details as essentially the world is weighing on every word that he says. So if he comes in with specifics, it could potentially crash the market. So he cannot do that. But being said, we did get some information today. Majority of what he said was all the same stuff. But the biggest thing to understand here is that uh, he came in hawkish in a sense. Now, when he first came in and talking about it, he started off with the fact that he felt the market does very well pricing in what is expected, and that he feels that these current levels are priced in well, which was a very bold sentiment. But then he finished it off with the fact that with supply constraints and all these other issues that are going on in the world, that there's no way of telling that essentially a 75-point basis move, potentially even a 100-point basis move, are not out of the question. That they will use any tools necessary to help combat inflation. He still believes that at some point they're potentially looking at 2023 that the inflation will come way down from where it currently is. 50-point basis move was being talked about for the next two meetings. He kind of said that that's kind of where they're looking at, but we won't really know for sure. It almost sounded like he was dovish in some aspects, that we might not have a 50-point basis move. We might only come in at 25. Then we might get a 100-point basis move. Anything is possible from this point. And this is why the market is in shambles currently as is. But being said, tomorrow is really what's going to matter with the current market. Something I've been talking about is this 20 EMA monthly, that 2123 mark. The market didn't quite know how to take Powell, and the fact that we attempted to try to flip and try to run and started to stall leads me to believe tomorrow could be a red day, because potentially I've been talking about this back test. We've been looking for this, and it's taken days to get to this point. We finally got some momentum. Even today, we try to push that Powell news. Again, he was very bullish or hawkish, and so it started pushing the market down, but it bounced right back. Again, we're coming right into the support. So if we hold here tomorrow and we open up roughly around this area, somewhere between 2124 and a 4090 mark, I can almost guarantee we're going to get a pretty solid rejection off this 20 EMA. And then, like I've been stating, where that lands will ultimately determine, I think, direction from that point. We do have, I think, the beige book next week, and then 2 weeks after that, we do have the Fed again. So there's a lot coming up. Obviously, we want to see what exactly is happening with the Fed, with them not really providing solid guidance. Again, they can't really provide solid guidance because the market will try to correct on whatever they say, and it could potentially be incorrect. So Powell definitely has to be careful what he does say. But nonetheless, I think we could get, again, a potential push up to that 4128 mark. And then at that point, I'm looking around that 3,900 mark tomorrow. We could potentially sell all the way back down to the bottom range here, but I'm really looking if we can just sell off enough and hold this 39.29 mark tomorrow. I think that could reverse this thing back up potentially. Again, you're going to get a hard rejection off of this. There is no real bullish catalyst for this to push up. I mean, it could potentially gap up. This is why overnight digestion really matters. I did not like how we closed. I did not like the struggle that it tried to make just to hold where it was at. So again, if this opens flat tomorrow and attempts to push and stalls, you'll probably notice that within the first 30 minutes, if not pre-market. And then if it continues to do that, I see this thing selling off back down to 3,900. And then from that point, we'll see where we go. Maybe we continue to chop around this range and then try to break back through. I'll try to attempt to break this 20 a couple different times. But the biggest thing is, again, we don't want to break this 38.64. I think if we break that, you're starting to, again, come close to that 200 EMA weekly, that 50 monthly. That, I think, would be an ultimate reversal there. Again, I don't think we have enough of a case for the bears to sell further than around 3,900. I think what happened today could be taken as a short-term bearish sentiment, and then technical-wise, you're lining up for that as well. So again, I think a pullback down to there would be potentially possible, and then try to push back up. Now, we definitely have to see, especially the banks. The banks try to break out today. They're hitting. They are retesting just like the SPX is here, and the SPX has essentially been moving just like the banks. So if the banks do reject off that trend line and start selling off, I'll pull up some of the banks here. Pull up Goldman Sachs. So if you look at this on the daily, and talking about this descending wedge, we did get a break of the smaller wedge here. And this is what I've been talking about. You get that break out of that wedge and you get a nice little pop. Tomorrow we could retest. So I see this start pulling back down. Since it's the first time it's touched that 20 in a minute, could see us retracting back a little bit, possibly down to the 303 mark, and then trying to re-break that 20. And then if we break that, then we can pop back up and potentially break out of this bigger wedge here. That's kind of what I'm looking at. And if you look at JPM, I mean, all the banks look exactly the same. The market looks exactly the same. You have this descending wedge. So I do expect some sort of a nice break and run up out of here. I like that there wasn't a lot of new information, but there was enough that to put the Fed back in that hawkish position that anything goes is on the table. Again, if that is the sentiment, the market might sell off, trying to, again, preserve some of that. And technical-wise, like I said, it lines up. So we have to see where we go from there. Bitcoin is still holding solid around the 30 mark. I don't like the fact it's hanging around down here, but I understand the way the market is kind of running again in parallel with Bitcoin. But I think tomorrow, ultimately, again, if we pull back and hold, you could say the same thing with Bitcoin. We could potentially start breaking back up and breaking back over some of these resistances. Back to this essential chop zone up here. I think that's what you're going to essentially be looking at for the rest of the year, potentially most of the year, in my opinion, until they get until we start warming up for the next earnings, until this next quarter is over. So I believe it's at the end of the month, and then at the end of the month, the quarter is over, and potentially start rolling back into our earnings again. I have to look and see when that is. But we still got a lot of time before the Q2 quarter is over. So we're going to see Bitcoin where it's at. Again, still looking at Tesla. Tesla's really struggling here at the 763 mark. It is. I mean, if you look at this on the daily, that would be considered potentially a bear flag. So that is something to keep in mind. You could potentially sell off even more here. You don't really want Tesla breaking below that 692. Again, it looks like you got a break and a retest of the 20. You originally had a break, a pop over the 20. Now it's kind of retesting that 20. Again, if we sell on Tesla, this thing can go all the way down to 501 to hit that 50 down there. It's a possibility. You have to understand it's all a possibility. I don't think there's strong enough catalyst to keep selling. So right now it's kind of a rough spot because technical wise we don't look good, but as far as like catalysts, we don't have any more bearish catalysts or bullish catalysts to really pull us out. I guess what you can say with what Powell was initially stating that, again, the sentiment, he likes essentially where the market's pricing in right now. So that could be taken as a bullish sentiment. So maybe we pop back over, which would be good. But ultimately, understand you're going to get, could we get a nice little run on Tesla tomorrow? Potentially a hard reject after that 838 tomorrow. Strong possibility. So I really want to watch this because you got a nice little gap here tomorrow. If we do gap up at all, if we gap up, we could go parabolic for a little bit before we should really start hitting stuff. But again, it's the first attempt. I don't expect it to. And unless there's some bullish catalyst to gap us up, I think we're going to get a hard rejection tomorrow. Apple, this is another big one, and I keep talking about that retest. This thing hasn't even retested yet. It's been a long time since it's retested this 20, and you've had multiple days without a retest of this 20. So if we do get a nice little pop tomorrow, that 154, going to get a hard rejection off that. And again, this is what I keep talking about. Wherever we land from that point is the turning point. I think where we, as long as we don't pull too far down below this lower low here, make a higher low, I think we could start ripping back up. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. Apple, Tesla, Google, same thing. Google had a nice little wedge break, but considering what the market's doing is just consolidating roughly around this 23.13 mark. So you're really looking for a break above the 23.71. Break above that could get a nice little push up to the 24.92. That's kind of what I'm looking at there. Shop needs a lot of work to break out here. And I think there's some, one thing I've noticed is that a lot of the cloud space stocks have really been plummeting on any push. So if we do get a potential push, chips have also been very strong too lately. All chips are starting to break out, which is a bullish, can help the bulls most definitely. So if we do get some sort of pullback, look for AMD to hold the 99.83 mark. If it does, that could be very bullish. Could potentially get and then move up to 109. So keep chips on watch as well. Or again, since you retested this 50, it's something I just talked about. As soon as you break the 20, you get a break, a retest of the 20, then you'll get a test of the 50, then you'll get a pull back to the 20, then you'll get the breakout. That's typically how this works. The patterns are very high percentage. I'd probably say like 85% of the time, that's the way it works. It's actually very rare. It does break back down unless there's the whole market sentiment changes. Well, does it typically retest as 20 and then break back down? But so that's what I'm kind of watching here. It's kind of, again, everything's lining up in that fashion. So if this does break back down, look for the 93.84 mark for potential entry for the bounce, and then the breakout on all these stocks. So it's really what you like potentially going into the next couple coming days. If the market sentiment does change, that's why I keep going over a lot of the beta stocks, because of that fact that if we do get a reversal, those ones will be the first ones to start ripping. So again, really watching that tomorrow. Again, first thing in the morning, I'm already looking at a bearish sentiment in the morning. Again, just to get us up to that 41.31, looking for the hard rejection. Again, potentially at 3,900. Then from that point, if we do hold, I'll be looking to accumulate more shares and stuff like that. Again, not financial advice. As long as it holds. If it holds, then we could potentially get a nice breakout here going into the next coming days. Get some sort of a rally before, and you also got this wedge. So that's really going to be a big eyesore tomorrow. This is why you're getting a big struggle here, because as soon as it hits that tomorrow, this thing is going to dump. And then again, we need to see where we land. If we land and we hold, I think I'll take that as very bullish setup for coming days. Get a rally in before that next meeting. But that's pretty much what I got. Kind of a short video. Again, these videos need to be short because it's mainly state of the market and kind of seeing where we land in the morning, then take it from that point. This is just the way the market has been. I know the past 2 years, it's been just buy the dip and the market rips. But right now, there's just too much that's going on. The Fed are controlling too much. The Fed doesn't know what's going on, so they're taking it day by day. You have to take it day by day. Sometimes it's better to not even take a position because of that fact, and make sure your cash just to protect yourself, because cash is a position, and just be mindful of that, because the more you're trying to play when it doesn't make sense to you, the more you're going to get essentially torn up, and you don't want your account to suffer because of that. If you're playing shares, I think now if you're looking long term, 5 to 10 years, I think now is a great buying opportunity. You should be slowly dollar cost averaging, in my opinion. Again, not financial advice, but I think these are the levels you want to be buying at, because I think we're again getting very close to a reversal. But then expect that we're still going to chop, even though we might get a rally. We'll push for a couple of days, and then we'll chop, and we'll push, and we'll chop, and then we'll sell off, and we'll chop. You just have to know that this is what's going to happen for the remainder, a good chunk of the year. But I think in the back half of the year, we'll eventually start getting some gas, start heading back up to all-time highs. But we just have to be patient and survive until that point. So, that being said, if you made it this far, go ahead and drop a like button and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Till next time, I will see you guys later.